Hi everyone, Alexandra Jarrett, Jupiter returns here with your weekly astrology forecast for the week of March the 29th to April the 4th, 2021. I hope you're all really well, and I hope you had a beautiful full moon in Libra, which we had yesterday. This was the main aspect that we had. As always, with a full moon, we have the moon in opposition to the sun. And of course, yesterday's full moon had alongside both Chiron and Venus, bringing strong elements of healing and healthiness within our relationships and the way that we relate. And that's also got strong themes of how we relate to ourselves and our sense of self-worth as well. As we move from a full moon, so going into Monday the 29th, the full moon energy is still pretty present and pretty active because we still have the moon in the sign of Libra. She's a little bit further on, so she's putting some distance between herself and these opposing planets. But she's still in Libra, and this phase of the moon, we're in the waning half of her cycle. The waning half is when she's slowly reducing in our sky. So the full moon is the halfway point of her cycle. We've had 14 days of growth and increase. Then we have this culmination point at the full moon, and after the full moon, she's shrinking down again. And what that shrinking down process is giving us the opportunity for is to spend some time, certainly the first 7 days after that full moon, spend some time in consideration of what those full moon messages were for us. Now, in the very close days, the day, like 1 or 2 days afterwards, that waning gibbous moon is really strongly associated with the need to share. People who are born around the days surrounding the full moon tend to have an easier connection working on one-to-one with other people because of this. There's a real need to share the experiences that we've had with that full moon with other people. Be that just to ask for their perspective, to gain a little bit more insight, which is, of course, exactly what we're doing at the full moon. We are receiving insight. To look at different ranges of perspectives on that information that we might get from trusted friends and family. So there can be a desire to share our experience, to discuss it, to pick it apart as we're trying to get some sense from it. Also, if we've suddenly had one of those peak moments of, oh, wow, real enlightenment about something, then there can be a strong desire to want to share that with other people as well. There's two things going on that make that specifically more likely today, Monday the 29th. Those are, firstly, we have got the full moon itself had Venus and Chiron alongside exactly. Venus is creating a little bit of space between herself and the sun right now. But we've got the sun and Chiron actually just building into the very, very, very exact moment of their conjunction today. So that was earlier on Monday, the 29th, and the energy is still very, very much present all day. So the sun Chiron conjunction is all about what is the healthiest thing for me right now. It's that easy. It's that simple. Aries really is an energy that's concerned with right now. It's not, it's not super patient. It's like now. I want something to happen now. It's Mars energy, so it's fast. And it's about the self, as is the sun. What is it that allows me to shine at my brightest, to feel most vibrant, to feel most alive? And at my healthiest is when I'm most likely to do that, be that my physical health, my emotional health, my mental health, the healthiness of my relationship. Okay, be that my relationship with myself, or be that a relationship with an other or others. So this is really, really potent energy today. Um, the the other connection that's going on is this. We've got an energy building up. This is Mercury and Neptune energy. And that's facilitating a change in our perspective or the ways of thinking. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as that goes perfect tomorrow, Tuesday, the 30th. Also today, what we've got going on is the moon continues in this process of, okay, what just happened there? Let me take a moment to understand this full moon energy. She's making a harmonious aspect to Jupiter over there in fellow Earth air sign Aquarius. Aquarian energy allows us to think a little bit more objectively. Okay, so it's Aquarius energy isn't considered to be super emotional. So when we just need to make a very kind of rational, sensible, objective decision, this can really help us just to kind of detach a little bit from our emotions and use some a bit more practicality into the situation. With a harmonious energy from Moon to Jupiter, this is tapping into our intuitive wisdom. Okay, so listen to the voice of your known inner wisdom. And this is the wisdom of lived experience. This isn't what you've read in a book or what you're hearing from me or what anyone else says. Okay, this is about you and you as the guru, you as the mentor, you as the person whose life has taught them so much already. Jupiter rules the sign of Sagittarius. Okay, this is our higher wisdom, our philosophies, our ethics, and we gain that from experience. There's no substitute for just life, just living our experience. Jupiter is associated with age and maturity alongside Saturn, which is two. And it's that maturity that knows, oh, I've gone through this before. So I don't need to experience a hard lesson there again because I've already done this one. It's hopeful, it's optimistic, and it's about our future. But it's saying, we do have this innate core wisdom that we've gained from our past lived experiences. So let's use that as we go forwards. And it's really, really going to help us feel more optimistic and more hopeful about the future that we're creating, particularly with this lunar cycle. If you're really, really engaging with this process, it's really beautiful, helpful energy. So this Mercury Neptune energy is also drawing together. And this, again, it's an energy of change because we've got Pisces here, which is a mutable sign. It talks about bringing things to a close. And of course, in the waning part of the moon cycle, that's what we're moving a little bit more towards doing, bringing things to an end, bringing things to a close. So let's take that one off then. As we move into Tuesday, the 30th of March, this energy goes exact. So the Mercury-Neptune conjunction is taking place at 21 degrees of Pisces. So find that part of your chart. What planets have you got, within a few degrees of 21 degrees of Neptune, of Pisces, sorry. Or just identify, what house in your chart does Pisces occupy? Because this is the area of your life that's going to be experiencing this energy the most. So what is this energy all about? Well, Mercury is considered to I find it quite difficult, like I am doing quite now, to speak. Mercury. Mercury rules the mind and the mouth, okay, and it can find some challenges in Pisces because Pisces is foggy and blurry and a little bit chaotic. So the precision, the clarity, the perfection, the refinement that we require from Mercury gets a little bit lost here. All right. Now, there's an upside to that we can use, and there's clearly going to be some downsides to that as well. So we have to watch out for those too. The upsides are an increase in our dreams, an increase in any kind of spiritual communication that you might have. So, any kind of prayer or its equivalent, meditation, that kind of thing today is really, really beautiful. And again, that's going to be assisted by the backdrop of that, the moon Jupiter trine that we're coming off of. Anything that has a compassionate element to it, so an increase in compassionate, kind, caring communication, or a desire to want to reach out to others and offer understanding and empathy of their situation. You might experience that. You might feel a call to want to do that. Just communicate some kindness, communicate the benefits and the joys of the fact of that we are all one. You know, we're so much more tuned into that vibration of our interconnectedness and our interdependence when we have personal planets moving through Pisces, and this is the last one. You know, Venus and Sun have moved on now, so Mercury's the last personal planet to sort of be doing this work for us. Dreams, shifts in perception. You know, Neptune, Pisces rules the lens, the camera lens, you know, be that strongly associated with photographers and actresses and Hollywood, filmmaking of any kind. And we're all doing that a little bit all the time now, aren't we? You know, Neptune makes things, it changes the reality of something, and it can make it more glamorous, more beautiful. As do those filters we all have on our phones now, right? Like, oh, I don't quite like the look of those wrinkles. Let me just throw in a bit of Neptune here. All those beautiful images that we see every day on our social media feeds, for example, we know they're not kind of strictly the true reality. We know the lighting's a little bit more ideal. And we know, you know, that all of the presentation is just that little bit more beautified, right? We generally don't want to share, you know, this is me just as I got out of bed this morning in the middle of my house, which is a total mess. So bear in mind, there is an idealistic, fantasy, dream-like quality to this. So if you're involved in any kind of creative work, music, creative writing, poetry, art, those kinds of things, brilliant energy to capture. Photography, you know, absolutely wonderful energy to capture. But on the downside, just be aware that it's going to dissolve your boundaries just a little bit. Your perception of facts, truth, being able to discern accurate information is significantly weakened when you put Mercury in a hard aspect with Neptune. So your discernment may be weakened. So just please bear that in mind, okay? So if we want to have areas of life where we would like our boundaries, any rigid patterns of thinking that need to be dissolved, if we want to shift in our perspective, this is fantastic energy to tap into. We could be confused, and we could actually really easily just be deceived. You know, the deception of how we are seeing things. So watch out for scam emails, scam messages on your phones. Watch out for people who are essentially going to take advantage of you via the methods of communication or information. Not a great day for signing contracts. Or making really important decisions, because our discernment, we just don't have the clarity of mind that we need for that. Watch out for any kind of deceptive energy. I'm just going to pause for a second. So yeah, it's really being conscious and making the choice of how you can pull through this energy. But I think that working off the back of that full moon, as we approach this period of saying, okay, how do I need to consider everything that's gone on here? We can really use that energy to just creatively look at different options and options that we might not have considered in the past. And particularly, if we communicate with other people and ask for some assistance from other people. Mercury Neptune energy is really wonderful for people helping each other to look at things in a different way. So see if you can use that. Also, we have perfecting today is a connection from, if I just move these, well, I'll put them like that. We have a connection from Venus, who is a very strong energy in the full moon. This is a sextile connection to Saturn in Aquarius. So we've got fire and air energy here. What this speaks to really is the understanding of love. What understanding of love have we gained from the full moon? Be that how we've been loving ourselves and how our relationship to self-love is showing up in our relationship. With a connection to Saturn here, it's really saying that what does self-love look like? Well, it looks like integrity. It looks like self-respect. It looks like having healthy boundaries. It looks like being mature, okay, being a grown-up, being an adult about things, and putting work in absolutely where it's needed. Okay, I've identified perhaps my sense of self-worth could do with a bit of an improvement, an uplift. I'm prepared to put the work in. All right, use this sextile. Saturn will help you. Saturn will strengthen any efforts that you make to do that. So really, really reaffirm, if you can today, your commitment. Saturn loves a commitment. Put a ring on it, yeah, like Saturn's rings. Put a ring around, make a commitment to your relationship, to your self-worth. That is the best way that you can do this, and that will filter through into all of your relationships and all other areas of your life. It also speaks to making decisions for the long term and delayed gratification. That's a really, really strong consideration when we look at Venus and Saturn together. Venus wants pleasure. She wants she wants connection, she wants love, she wants things that taste nice and sound nice and all of this. And in Aries, she kind of wants them now. But if we can if we can channel some of that Aries energy rather into now rash, hasty, impulsive energy, if we can channel that into self, okay, the energy, the expression of Aries that is more related to self, we can use that kind of grr energy a little bit more to be a warrior for ourselves. And that means sort of saying, no, I'm going to, defend my right to have a longer term relationship, a greater level of commitment to love in my life, a greater sense of self-respect in my life. So I'm loving this energy today as, off the back of that full moon. It's absolutely beautiful. As we move then into Wednesday, the 31st of March, we have more Venus energy going on. So we've got some lovely energy today. Venus now at 12 degrees of Aries, separating from that sextile with Saturn, but it's still there. You can still feel it, but it's just that they're drawing apart from each other now with the separation. Venus today is going to be trining exactly from 12 degrees of Aries exactly up to the south node there in Sagittarius, which again talks to our past experiences, our collected knowledge and wisdom of life. And then it sextiles over there to the north node, which is our future. And there's a nice bit of receptivity here because we've got, Mars alongside the north node that hopefully you're working with last week. Mars being the ruler of Aries, where Venus and the Sun and Chiron all find themselves now. So what's this all about? Well, this is saying, okay, let's take Venus's work that little step further. Okay, all started with the full moon, and this is our process of, following the moon's path and pulling in the other planetary aspects. So with Venus here, easiest flow of, you don't need to put any effort into this trine. The trine to the south node is saying, okay, what have I learned in my past experiences? But then it's saying you need to use that experience now. You need to actively engage with the gains that you've made through your life, and pump those into where it is that you're going now in the future. Okay, this is your karma, your past. This is more the destiny, the future, where we are headed. All right, so let love be the guide of where we're moving forward, but off the back of those improvements that we're trying to make with this lunar cycle. Alongside this, so we've got the moon has shifted now into, in fact, she's that way around. The moon is now shifted into the sign of Scorpio. And one thing we know about Scorpio is it loves to really take us into the deep, dark, nitty gritty of a subject. Okay, and she's waning. So this is saying, okay, I think we need to go in deep and really release something from, the darkest parts of ourselves. It's a purging energy, essentially. Getting rid of something that just doesn't need to be in there anymore. And what's happening here is that with the moon being in Scorpio, water sign Scorpio, she is then trining that Mercury-Neptune conjunction. So the work that we did with that now comes good and feeds into all of this as well. So here we get a little bit more back into our feeling nature. The Aquarian energy earlier on was more rational and objective. This is more about, my feelings, my intuition, and just what I know in my waters. These are water signs, and that's the thing. These phrases don't come from nowhere. And yeah, I've got a feeling in my waters that's very much speaks to this kind of energy. And alongside all of that, it's such a wonderful day. We have, let me see, have I got another? I need another aspect. Here it is. I've got a sextile down here somewhere on the floor. We've got the sun. Let's move that little arrow away. The sun in Aries now forms a sextile aspect to Saturn. All right. So this is building up, okay, in the background. And what this is going to do is this is going to strengthen our resolve, okay, your personal resolve. It's going to really, really strengthen your sense of self if you engage with this energy, okay, to really make you feel confident. The tenacity of Saturn, Saturn's the boss of things, and it's the boss of things because it's worked bloody hard to get there. It's put in the effort, and Capricorn energy, Saturn energies, energy you can rely upon. It is solid, dependable energy. So when we pull that into the sun in Aries, that's saying, yeah, this is who I am. I'm solid, I'm reliable, I'm dependable. So it's really going to strengthen our resolve in terms of the changes that we are trying to make with these other aspects that are going on. Beautiful day, loving that energy. It could also, we could also, with the Venus connections to the nodes on this day as well, there could be some, for the odd few, there could be some quite fated seeming encounters and connections that are made with friends or potential lovers, lovers potentially from the past coming back, or, you know, even past lives. Okay, so reconnecting with people from prior incarnations, that might be a theme as well, or just making connections with people that feel like they've got a really fated element to them. So pay attention to any connections. Venus really rules connections. She rules the metal copper, and we use copper in wiring because it's so conductive. It brings two things together so easily. So look at what connections you just happen to make that day. There may be a fated aspect or element within those. Okay, then, as we move into Thursday, the 1st of April, I'm not going to do any April Fool stuff, so don't worry. I think that would be really inappropriate, actually. But hopefully, you know, that Mercury Neptune energy, it is still a bit present, so hopefully that hasn't made a fool of you. We've got the moon shifting into Sagittarius on Thursday. That's always lovely energy, whatever part of the moon phase we're in, because it does give us this uplift. And if we've been doing some heavy work, heavy, deep, you know, potent, intense work with the moon moving through Scorpio, then we get a bit of a lift, and it's like, okay, all the crap is cleared out now. Let's have a look at the, you know, the bright, beautiful future on the next horizon. Moon in Sagittarius is just ever hopeful, ever optimistic. And the sun now repeats the work that Venus was doing the day before, because they're kind of the Venus is pulling away from the sun slowly. So Venus starts something, and then sun comes along and goes over it again. So this is where our hearts led us the day before, our conscious energy now follows. So again, we have the sextile aspect to the North Node and the trine up to the South Node. All right. Sun and Venus are really working together at this time. This is a really important part of the Venus cycle, what we call the synodic cycle. Last week and this week in particular, when Venus and Sun come together like this is known as the superior or exterior conjunction. We can't see Venus in the sky at the moment. She's kind of missing from our sky, and that's because she's around the other side of the sun. So we're not really receiving quite as easily her energy. And this is an important phase of her cycle, which, if you're joining me this Friday evening in the fortnightly astrology group, we're going to take a really deep dive into the Venus cycle, what part of it we're now in, and where that's showing up in your life. But essentially, just think of this as being like the full moon point of Venus's cycle. So we're getting an awful lot of culmination points, fruition points, things coming to a ripening in matters of heart. And with these connections to the nodes, there is again, like yesterday, a very fated, destined kind of sense to matters around this. It could also speak to matters of money, matters of beauty, creativity, art, all other things as well. But I really think, coming off the back of this energy, Aries, Sun, Chiron, it really is about our relationship to ourselves, our relationship and our self-worth and our self-love. Okay, what have we got? Yes, superior conjunction. Also on this day, then, we have another sextile making its presence known. This is just starting to build up, and this is the sextile between Mercury and Pluto. All right. Now, this is going to pull through into Friday, the 2nd of April. All right. So it actually perfects 7 a.m. So it's going to be present with us all the way through Thursday, the 1st of April, powerful overnight. And then as we awaken on Friday morning, that's when it's going to be exact. This really speaks to, okay, what have we been working with Mercury all week? Well, we've been working with the connection to Mercury, to Neptune, and the energy of Pisces. So what was going on earlier in the week at the conjunction point? How did you pull through that experience? Because this is where you get to engage with the process of making transformation off the back of that bit of experience. So, were you caught out by something? Were you deceived by something? Were you fooled by something? Were you too forgiving about something? Was your boundary too low? Well, this is the energy where you say, okay, that needs to change. Pluto, death and rebirth. This is continuing the Scorpio stuff. This is saying, okay, I really need to ensure now that that's something that I transform. Or was it something really helpful? Did that Mercury Neptune energy give you a different kind of view of something, a shift in your perspective that was really needed? And you're now saying, yeah, I need to transform this. I need to really pull this down and make sure it's a part of my deep kind of infrastructure moving forward. Okay, so it's a transformative energy that will be informed specifically by however this energy showed up for you. But it needs a bit of engagement from you. That sextile needs you to put a little bit of effort in and meet it halfway. We also have alongside, this is really, really helpful, because we've now got the moon in fire sign Sagittarius. She's now making a really harmonious aspect to the sun in fellow fire sign air. So when we have this kind of connection between the moon and the sun, it's harmoniously uniting the feminine side of our nature, the receptive yin aspects of ourselves, the emotional nature, with our very yang, masculine, rational, expressive parts of ourselves. Those two are working really nicely together. So there's a feeling of being like quite comfortable and solid, essentially. There isn't this kind of like dichotomy going on in different aspects of ourselves where we feel like we're pretty much pulled together. And that can really help if we're engaging in this process of working with the Mercury Pluto sextile. Okay, so then as we move into Saturday, the 3rd of April, things change a little bit now because Moon has finished her journey through Sag and she enters Capricorn. Now, there's a couple of things that are really important here. Capricorn is the very beginning of Capricorn. It's what we call part of the world axis. And I've shown this, quite a few times in the past, but it's worth just repeating. The world axis, then, this is where we have our solstices and equinoxes, okay? When the sun hits the 1st degree of the cardinal signs, we begin a new season. So winter begins when the sun enters Capricorn, spring, the vernal equinox we've just passed when the sun enters Aries, etc. So with the moon now going back over this point, essentially it's going to, by square aspect, re-trigger the Aries point, the vernal equinox. So what was happening around the spring equinox for you, we might get another bit of a taster of that energy. It also takes on a more serious tone. The moon in Capricorn, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn wants you to get serious about things, okay? So we've done a lot of hard work with the moon cycle up to this point. And this is where we can, as an earth sign, we can really make that work last for the long term, last the distance, be something that we can really rely upon as we move forwards. And what we're doing here is we're actually starting, as soon as it shifts into Capricorn, we're building into the energy of the the last quarter square moon phase, that right angle between the moon and the sun. And the first part of that process will come when the first aspect that she's going to make as she moves through Capricorn is going to be, oh, there's one of my hairs there, a square to Chiron in Aries. So it's continuing the work from that Libra full moon beautifully. This is a challenge. This is saying, okay, you've had all week now to have a think about this. What's the healthiest thing for me now? How am I moving forward with greater love and respect for myself? Healthy boundaries, all of these things we've been working on. The moon now is going to make that feel a bit challenging to achieve those things. You might get tempted into your old ways. So we've got to watch out for that, and we might emotionally respond and react in life from our connection to our Chiron. If we're experiencing some inner frustration around being able to bring about the healing that we need to do, we can really kind of put that out there, project that out into the world via the moon. Okay, so these are the themes that are really strongly going to be coming up. What's also very, very significant about this day is that Mercury is now at the very last degree of Pisces. Okay, so it's finishing up that work of whatever that work has been like for you, essentially. But any confusion, any fogginess, any areas where we've been over generous, over forgiving, or we've had the rose tinted glasses on, this is that crux point where Mercury's saying we're going to be leaving that behind now. Okay, this is the very final degree of the final sign of the zodiac. This is where things end. This is where really, 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 this is where things, we leave them behind now. Okay, powerful, powerful degrees these are. That then facilitates, as we move into Sunday the 4th, very early in the morning, kind of overnight really, unless you're one of those weird people that likes to get up at dawn. It's definitely not me. 4 a.m. on Sunday, we have Mercury then ingressing Aries. Mercury takes on such a different tone here. This is where it's like, oh, clarity comes back. Things make a lot more sense now because we're out of that foggy, murky, rose-tinted kind of view of Pisces, back into a fire sign, way more decisive. Mercury also can be a little bit more like straightforward, let's say, bold, direct. So let's consider that our mind and our mouth are now, for a few weeks with Mercury transiting through Aries, ourselves and other people are going to be communicating in a vastly different way than they have been lately, which might be wonderful if we want to get on with things, projects, contracts, agreements, all those things that perhaps we've put on hold with Mercury not giving us its best in Pisces. Now we want to really proceed with those, but we might be a little bit hasty and we might just be a little bit Martian about it, a bit Marsy, a bit like, right, this is what's happening and that's that, very bold, very direct, very straightforward. So as always, it depends on what your starting point is. Where is Mercury in your chart? How is your communication style ordinarily? Does it need to be a little bit more direct? Does it need to be a little bit more straightforward? In which case, this is going to be awesome. But if you've already got plenty of that going on, it might make you just a little bit over the top. So just, tone it down just a little bit. But it brings us clarity. And that clarity is something we're going to need as later on in the day, the moon reaches the exact point of her last quarter square aspect. The crisis of integration is what we call this one. That's around about 9:30 a.m. in the UK. All right. So let's have a look at this. What is this saying? This is essentially our choice point. The square aspects the moon makes, these are the points when it's really a call for us to actively engage in the lunar cycle. The new moons and full moons, not so much. That's about listening, all right, getting out of our own way and listening. The quarter aspects, that's saying do something, all right? Now, what we're being asked to do at this point is we've had 7 days since the Libra full moon to pick it apart, to look at it from different perspectives, to talk to other people, to understand fully what it is that we need to do to move forward. And this is the crisis point that says, okay, you got to do it. And so it's lovely. It's wonderful that Mercury moves into Aries, because it's going to give us that clarity, that precision, that boldness that we need to say the things that we need to say if we've been a little bit hesitant, and to speak up on behalf of ourselves, Mercury in Aries, if we need to do that as well. Also, don't forget, as I mentioned earlier in the week, Mercury, there's a lot of similarities with Mercury and Chiron. They both have elements of purifying, cleaning, and healing energy about them. So bring in aspects of that wherever, on whatever level it is that you need healing. But this really is the bit where you say, okay, this is the crossroads, stuff gets ended, finished, left behind now. And it might require me to take some very bold, direct action, but really, I need to. And the reason I need to now is because as the moon continues to wane, this is about the time of release. This is the part of the moon cycle where we let things go. All right. Not at the full moon, not at the new moon. There's all sorts of ideas out there. Well, that's what I say anyway. You make up your own minds. But, this part of the waning cycle is really about understanding and integrating, digesting, chewing things over. And then this is the part where it's like, okay, it's digested. Now I'm going to keep the good bits. So say if we've eaten a meal, we've eaten a meal at the full moon, we're going to digest it for a little while, and we're going to keep all the good bits, all the nutrition, all the vitamins, all the minerals, all the protein, whatever we need. And then we're going to go to the loo, essentially. And that's that last quarter of the moon cycle. That's when we go to the loo and we compost what we don't need. That's a process of release. That's a process of letting go of something that wouldn't be good to hold on to, let's face it. And what we're doing there is we are making space. And what we're making space for, of course, is the following new moon. That new moon is going to take place when the moon has moved around and meets up with the sun again in the sign of Aries. And that's a really special new moon. That's the new beginning of you. So this really is the most wonderful kind of setup to be able to make the most of that new moon. Let's clear the way, but let's make sure that we're clearing away the right stuff and we're keeping, also the right stuff. So yeah, work with it, and then you can have the best possible new beginning for you at the Aries new moon. And of course, I will be here to tell you all about that one. Hope this was useful as always. If it was, please give me a like, a love, a share. Help bring this, if you find this helpful, help other people be helped by it too. And the way that you can do that is to support my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. That helps the algorithm find other people, because that's how it all works really. But any interaction that you can make with my channel, be it leaving a comment or a like or a share or anything like that, it all helps. Have a really, really beautiful week. It's some really helpful, supportive, healing energy that we have on our side if we choose to tap into it, and I hope you do. Until next week, lots and lots of love. Take care. Bye-bye.